Hello and welcome to my channel. I decided to record this video because if you have a service dog and you would like to go cruising with your service dog, you are going to run into a lot of frustration. I know I did, and I've seen a lot of videos of people practically saying the same thing. Cruising with your service dog is very frustrating. So I am hoping that the video that I am going to record and the information that I'm going to share with you today is going to help relieve a lot of that stress and frustration. I'm going to go over what is needed, the paperwork needed for the cruise line, as well as the paperwork and where to find the information for the different ports that your cruise line may go to. This is also going to be part one of two videos. Why? Because part two is going to solely focus on what you are going to need to bring your service dog into the Bahamas. That in itself is a 5-step process, and I'm going to go over it in a completely separate video. How to obtain an approval from there. Everything is online. You don't have to mail anything in unless that's just what you want to do, but I'm not even sure if you can do that, to be honest with you, because everything is completely online now. And I'm going to go over that. That took me a long time to gather the information, and as I said, I'm hoping to help relieve some stress from anyone traveling with their service dog. So let me share my screen. So we are traveling with Carnival Cruise Line. So with Carnival, you would go to their website, Guests with Disabilities. Under Guests with Disabilities, you will click on pre-cruise forms, excuse me. You would click on traveling with a service animal. And once you click on that, this will pop up. When you click on that, their form will come up. Now, I'm sure with every cruise line, they have their own form. So this is pretty much self-explanatory. I am filling this out on my behalf. You put your name, your information, the ship and date you are sailing with, your booking number. So of course you have to already be fully booked with them to fill this out. And then you put down here the information for your service dog, the breed, color, weight, and the physical task that your service dog performs for you. I highly recommend you read everything here because of course it will be up to date, but as of the recording of this video, which is December 2025, and we are cruising January of 2026, this is the most up-to-date information. Next, after you fill this out and you submit it, of course, this is the email that you will receive that lets you know that they've received your form. Please note that you will need to submit your vaccination record, CDC forms, and all of the paperwork that your vet will give you 1 week before your cruise. Now, any certificate that needs to be endorsed by APHIS probably won't be in 1 week before the cruise. However, anything else, you will need to submit it to the cruise. They know that you will get that within the week, probably a couple of days before your cruise, the endorsed health certificate. But everything else you should be able to get from your vet 1 week before. My vet has us coming in 10 days before. That is the furthest out that you can get everything done. Do not get it any more than 10 days before your cruise, and submit it immediately to the cruise line, with the exception, as I said, of anything that needs to be endorsed by APHIS. And when you do receive that, send that in as soon as possible. Of course, you have to go to the CDC. When you go to the CDC website, you will come to this page, bringing a dog into the US, because obviously you're going to come back with your service dog, so you want to make sure that there's no problems coming back. Now, the first thing you want to do is check out this list to make sure that none of the ports you are going to go on are high risk country. Sorry, high risk rabies country. If they are, they will be on this list. So you click on here to go to this to the list. I'm sorry. Go back here. I think I have the list already pulled up. Here we go. So in our case, we are going to the Bahamas. I see here the Bahamas is not on the list. Next, we are going to Honduras. And I see here that Honduras is on the list. And the third port we're going to is Mexico. So Mexico is not on this list. Now, of course, this is going to depend on what countries you're visiting. So make sure you check out the countries that you are visiting. If you are in a high risk or going to a high risk country, such as we are, which is Honduras, you will have to complete the form that says vaccinated dogs going to high risk countries. And if I'm being honest, I'm scrolling through this because you really should take the time to read this. And this is updated as of July 31st, 2025, just to make sure that whenever you do see this video, it is up to date for where you're going, because the list could change. You continue, and down here you complete the form. Now you're probably thinking, well, what if my dog is not going to a high risk country? You pretty much complete the same form. Where the difference comes is on the actual form. So this is the form that you would complete for the CDC. Now, since we are going to a high-risk country, we will click yes. And the difference in the form is really at the bottom, and I'll point that out to you. So you'll put in your information. You are the owner. You can choose your passport, driver's license, and then when you click on that, this is going to pop up for you to actually put your information, your correct information. If you have, I think this is just more generic for transporting or bringing a animal, dog or whatever in. So this is if somebody else is co-signing. If you have a service animal, then it's just going to be you. You can actually leave that blank. As you notice, that's why it doesn't have the stars. And then you would put your physical address here in the United States, where you actually live. Section B is actually going to be all about your service dog. So you put their information there. And of course, the option for service animal, if they are microchipped, which they have to be microchipped. So make sure that you get the microchip done, and you have to have the microchip before they get their rabies shot. You put the microchip number there, then you download a picture of your service dog. Now, travel information. This is really the only part that if they have visited an area that is high-risk rabies, you get this extra information. If you have not or are not visiting a high-risk rabies country, then this part will not even populate for you to fill out. But of course, we are, and then we're by C, and then you put here the information to the country that you are going to visit that is high risk. And then you scroll down, and the importer, you sign your name, and you hit submit. Once you've successfully done that, you will receive an email with your import information. This is what it will look like. It'll have all the information you imported along with the picture of your service dog. Okay, once you are done with the CDC, you should go to the USDA website. Now, when you go to the USDA website, again, I'm just scrolling, so take your time and read it. Pause the video if you should, if you need to. You will go here, take a pet from the United States into another country. When you click on that, this is what is going to show up. Now, again, take the time and read through this because with the USDA, they have a lot of information on here for you. You scroll down and then it says, look up the different destinations. So here you would click on this and you will click on the different countries that you are going to. So we're going to the Bahamas, for example, Honduras and Mexico. So here for the Bahamas, I am actually going to record a part 2 of this video, and that video is going to solely focus on filling out the pet permit for the Bahamas. That is a 5-step process. Yes, you heard me correctly. 5-step process. And it took me over a month to try to figure everything out, and a lot of downtime. I got, had a few episodes trying to deal with getting all the information, but I've obtained all the information for you. And in that second video, I am going to go ahead and go through it. So for the Bahamas, it is solely online. You do not have to mail anything in. You do not have to, go through waiting 6 weeks, 6 or 8 weeks, I think what it was before. If filled out correctly, you will get this within 48 hours, your approval. So you would go to Dogs and Cats, import permit app, and from there, as I said, I am going to do a complete video. Once you do that correctly and you follow the part 2 of this video, you're going to get your approved permit, and it's going to be a few pages. This is what the permit itself looks like, and then you're also going to get the form for your veterinarian to fill out. So again, that will be in the other video, but just wanted to show you what the approved permit actually looks like. The second port, or another port that we are going to, is Mexico. Mexico is actually the simplest thing. Your veterinarian, which has to be a USDA veterinarian, they will have all the forms. You don't have to bring them any form, with the exception of the Bahamas. They should have all the forms. A lot of these things can be done online, and as of I believe this was modified July 30th. They don't require USDA endorsement, which can get very expensive. But your veterinarian has to be a USDA approved veterinarian. Now, the only bad thing is that as of November 22nd of 2024, Mexico is affected by this. Now, I do not intend on debarking in Mexico specifically because of this. Why? Because in order for me to get off with my service dog in Mexico, I will actually have to take my service dog to a veterinarian in Mexico to check out my dog and give me a certificate to say that she did not get anything. And I am not going through all of that. So for that purpose, I do not intend on getting off in Mexico. However, I still need to have the paperwork and everything required for Mexico, even though I do not intend to get off. The next port we are going to is Honduras. Now, with Honduras, they also do not require APHIS endorsement, which again helps to save you some money. However, because they are in a high rabies risk country, I have to now get a health certificate to enter back into the United States. Again, this may sound very complicated, but if you let your veterinarian know that the country you are visiting is high risk rabies, they should know what to do. At least my veterinarian already knew what to do. But they do not require APHIS endorsement. Now with them, you have to email And this is what the email pretty much looks like. Now, at the top of the email, all of this is in Spanish. If you scroll down, it is in English. And it has 3 attachments. One of the attachments pretty much is what vaccines your pet needs. Now, if you have a service dog, you should already have all of these vaccines that you get done anyways. Just make sure that they are up to date and are not going to expire within the time that you're going to be in the cruise. Personally, I say make sure that it is not any older than 6 months, just so that you don't run into any problems or anything like that. The other 2 attachments are just pretty much talking about the behavior of your service animals, making sure it's not aggressive, making sure it's in good health, making sure, things like that. And all of those are in Spanish, but this is the one that really, if you have a well-trained service dog, none of those things should be an issue. This is the one that really concerns just ensuring that you have the proper vaccines for your service dog. And that is pretty much it. As I said, I went through this pretty fast. Depending on what countries you are visiting, you go to those countries and you look at what they specifically require. A lot of the cruise lines have private islands in the Bahamas. So, as I said, I will be providing you the 5-step process to filling out and getting a Bahama pet import approved in a separate video. Because no matter which of the islands in the Bahamas you're going to, you have to go through the same process. So I hope this was helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I will be more than happy to answer any questions you may have.